Welcome to the Power to Shred podcast. I am thrilled to welcome Maddi LeBlanc to the show. Maddi is Canada's #1 stand-up paddle athlete and 2-time Canadian national champion whose passion for life on the water has inspired paddlers around the world. Beyond racing, Maddi speaks on stages, pens journal articles, sits on expert panels, and teaches clinics, always with the goal of helping others discover the joy and freedom of stand-up paddling. She is also certified WPA Level 1 instructor and is an ISA, ILS surf and aquatic rescue and safety specialist, and partners with brands like Flying Fish Board Company, Paddlebording, Thrive Protein, and Power to Shred to fuel both her adventures and her community impact. Today, Maddi joins us to unpack her journey from balancing paddling, multiple freelance gigs to fund her athletic dreams, to the mindset shift that drives her to chase excellence on every paddle stroke. Let's dive in. Yay! Hello and welcome everyone to Power to Shred podcast. And it is my honor and truly a privilege to have Maddi LeBlanc on as my guest. Welcome to Power to Shred. This is where unstoppable energy and peak performance are born from unlocking the power that's already within you. So we get a chance to dive in with you, Maddi. Welcome. Spark of passion. Tell us a little initially what drew you to your love for paddleboarding and getting into racing.
Well, hi, Audrey. And first and foremost, thank you so much for having me on the podcast today. I'm super stoked to be here, and I always love having an opportunity to share my story. So it really means a lot. And I guess for how I kind of got into SUP and the whole racing scene, I got to try it just once when I was a kid, and my family and I, we were up north. We were on one of the Great Lakes that we have here in Canada, and I saw these two guys taking out like a giant yellow Nash board. So way back then, they were like super big and super yellow, so it looked like a giant banana. And obviously, as a kid, that attracts your eye. You're like, what is that? Yeah, so I saw these two guys go out, and my parents totally saw my fascination with it. Like they saw me look at them, and I said to them, what is that? And they were like, well, I don't know. Like, we don't know either. And my mom said, when the guys come in, you should go up to them and ask, what is that? And I was always like a pretty shy kid. So I said to her, I was like, no way, I'm not going to do that. And then she looked at me, and I'll never forget. She's like, if you don't go up to them and ask, you'll regret it. And I'm so happy she actually encouraged me in that way to approach them when they came back from their paddle. So I asked them, I said, what is that? And they said, these are stand-up paddle boards. Would you like to try? And really from that moment on, I became completely addicted. Like, I tried it. At that point, I was about 10 years old. That would have been 2007, I believe. And so I was pretty young. And then a few years later, I was able to save up a lot of my babysitting money because I knew, I was like, I really want to get into this paddling thing. And growing up, I was always that kid that wanted to do like every single sport. I tried a bunch of different things. And so when it came to paddling and getting a board, my parents made a deal with me. They said, we'll get you a stand-up paddleboard if you save up for it and contribute to about half. And then the other half we'll get for you as like a Christmas present one year. So I was like, okay, that's awesome. So I worked so hard for like multiple summers. Like, I think it must have been, oh goodness, 4 years at least. Because I think I was 14 when I got it. And so, yeah, it was a pretty cool moment when that Christmas came and I saw the paddleboard in the garage. I was like, oh my God, no way. Like, it was a complete surprise. But it felt kind of cool as well to like earn that too. Like really show my parents that like this is how bad I want to do this sport. Like I'm not just saying I want to do something and they're going to drop so much money on a board for me to just not use it. So I got it in 2012, but in Canada in our frozen waters in the winter, you can't really paddle. So I didn't actually take it out until the spring of 2013 and just completely fell in love with it.
And if you don't mind me interrupting, what board did you get?
Yeah.
What did you start?
Yeah, it was a Jimmy Sticks or Stikes. I hear people say it like both ways, so I've never actually known the name of this brand. But it was a Jimmy. I'm pretty sure it's Sticks. It was a Jimmy Sticks. I'm pretty sure, and it was kind of cool. It was like white and red, so it looked kind of almost like a candy cane. It was a neat board.
And was it an inflatable or was it a hard board?
It was a hard board. Because back then, I think, 2012, like, I actually don't even know if inflatables were a thing back then. Like, I'm not 100% sure if the technology was there yet. But even at the time, just because of my first experience being on a hard board, I kind of knew what I was looking for. And when I talked about it with my parents, I said, like, I want, like, this board. I want this all-round. It was a 10-6. It must have been maybe 26 or 25 inches wide. So it was wide. But not, like, it wasn't anywhere near, like, the 30-inch range. Like, it wasn't, like, really big.
But it's also relative because when you go from one of those 26 to your race board size, like that's a big leap. That's a big difference.
That's right. It's actually crazy when I look back at the progression of my kind of career, I guess, in paddling and seeing how I started in the beginning on this Jimmy Sticks board that was just, it was your general all-round board. Like it allowed you to do whatever the heck you wanted. And when I started paddling, it was totally leisurely. Like I just wanted an excuse to get out on the water. I'm from Welland, Ontario in Canada. So we have a man-made body of water that's called the Welland Canal that runs through our town. And it actually connects the two Great Lakes, Lake Ontario and Lake Erie, for shipping and transportation of goods and services between Canada and the US. And so there's a part of the canal that's called the Old Canal, and that part's been blocked off and actually kind of remade so that ships can still go in between the Great Lakes, but the part that's been blocked off, it's only allowed for recreational users. So stand-up paddleboarders, rowers, we have a Welland International Flatwater Center that caters to a lot of dragon boaters and sprint canoe and kayakers. So I just wanted an excuse to like have some time on the Welland Canal in my backyard. And so in 2014, I actually ended up creating a fundraiser for two friends that I lost to cancer earlier in 2011. So it was really cool that when paddleboarding came a year after my friends died, it was a way for me to kind of creatively express how much my friends meant to me. And it allowed me to do something to give back in honor of them. And so I just leisurely paddled up and down the Welland Canal. I paddled 10 kilometers to raise funds for brain cancer research with the Canadian Cancer Society. And I actually had a sponsor of that event in that year come up to me and he said, "Hey, Maddi, like, did you know you can race stand-up paddleboards as well?" And I was like, what? Just being that competitive kid that wanted to do everything. And I felt like, okay, wow, this whole new world now has been unlocked. Like, not only do I love paddling and just doing it leisurely, but now I'm like, I can go faster. So that was 2014. And then I think I was like busy with school or something. I can't remember why in 2015 I didn't start racing yet. But in 2016, that was the first time I got to try a local race here at home. And it was like a 1 kilometer square loop. It took me like 11 minutes to paddle this 1K, and I'm dying. I literally laugh when I look back at that too, because I'm like, oh gosh,
Like,
wow.
yes. Looking back, that you have the opportunity to look back and see where you started and where you came from, like, it took me that long, and look where I am now. So, but when you did your first race, were you still on that Nash board, the candy cane board?
No, so when I did my first race, because a sponsor at On Board, his name was Daryl Austin, and he was running a company that was called Osmosis. So he was kind of trying to be the Niagara region, so the area where I'm from, he was trying to be the first surf shop in our local area. And so he was getting into board design and shaping more so surfboards, but he did test out a few race boards. So at that first race, he actually let me borrow. It was a 14, no, sorry, it was a 12.6 Osmosis race board, which definitely doesn't exist anymore, unfortunately, but it was cool.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then from there, you already, I mean, you were hooked from the start. Then you got onto this race board and you got to go faster. And then you just needed more.
Absolutely. I think it's actually so cool to look back and just think like, wow, I really, really, really love this sport so much more than what I realized back then, because it just was such a natural progression of just wanting to be better, wanting to be faster. And the fact that like paddleboarding was kind of like a mode of living this awesome life that I get to have now. Like, not only just wanting to train and wanting to better myself made me become the athlete that I am today and still wanting to progress and grow, but it's allowed me so many like really cool experiences along the way. It's provided inspiration in terms of like when I was still in school, it became the subject of my undergrad and my master's thesis. So
Amazing.
yeah, it just was this kind of crazy drive that essentially has taken over my life, which is it's so cool to just look back and realize that and recognize that. But I
That it's
had
been,
no idea it was gonna do so much for my life back then.
and isn't that amazing when you're open to those quotes of following your passion, right? When you follow your passion, the doors will open up. And it sounds like that's been part of your story and your journey. And the doors are continuing to open up because you are still so passionate about what you do.
Oh, absolutely. Like now I am trying to be like a professional stand-up paddleboarding athlete. So the remote work that I have, like the part-time jobs that I have to allow me to still, fund my athletic career, because we're definitely not rich athletes. It's not a rich sport, that's for sure. Um, it's allowed me to be flexible with my time, be flexible with my schedule, but even in my work life now, like I'm working for clients that are still in the paddling industry as well, and it's all primarily social media, content creation, and journalism. So I get to express my love for paddling even when I'm not training and when I'm not on the water. It's like these jobs are like a creative outlet for me that I absolutely love, and I'm so stoked about.
Yeah. Stoked to do what you love on the water and off the water and to continue to share that, to share that with others that have that stoke that just elevates all that you do.
Absolutely. Oh man, I think stand-up paddleboarders are like the most stoked people I know.
Yeah. So what about this as part of your journey? You're on the journey, but is there a challenging moment that helped pivot, shift you? Because a lot of times, similar to paddling, you're paddling into the wind, the conditions are always changing. It could be wind, it could be chop, it could be water itself, and we embrace those conditions. We embrace these challenges. And do you have a moment that maybe that marked you where you knew like this is for sure, like this is it. This is that pivotal moment that makes me who I am.
Oh, that's a great question, Audrey. I think along this journey, I've had a lot of those moments actually. I don't think there could be one necessarily that I would define as like this was the moment. But
Mm-hmm.
it's so funny to think that way back in 2011, when I lost my friends to cancer, that was the pivotal moment that sparked using stand-up as an avenue, as a way to like express my grief and express my sadness, but in such a positive way, an empowering way, to deal with their loss and to really just, be happy again after losing people that were so close to me. And then as I continued to do paddling, while I was in school, I remember there was like really hard times in school as well where I struggled, and kind of same thing, just having paddling as a foundation to be like, okay, I need to go to the gym today so I can be a stronger paddler. And that hour is going to take away from what I'm struggling with in school. As I've continued to grow as well, past school, past like careers, like I remember I was working full time in Toronto as well, after I graduated from Brock University in my master's program. And I did that job for about a year, and it was really fun. Like I was the general manager of a surf store, and I actually loved my job. I loved my coworkers. We were promoting surfing on the Great Lakes. It was awesome. But still that deep down desire to like want to be a better athlete was burning inside of me, and working full time was just completely burning me out and not allowing me to paddle as much as I wanted to. And that was a pivotal moment for me to actually fully realize like, wow, I really want to go all in with paddling, and I can't do that if I'm working this full-time job. So then that was a pivotal moment, leaving my full-time career. And then being a paddling athlete, as I mentioned earlier, like we don't make funds from competitions. Like that's just not how our sport works. Like we're just so niche, and we're such a small community that a lot of people, you still don't even know that our sport exists, which is crazy. But I can't even tell you the amount of times where, like, even working these part-time jobs, like just learning the rocky road ahead of trying to balance like work and training and, healthy nutrition, like cooking for myself. I ran out of money like so many times. And every single time I ran out of money, I'm like, oh my God, like it was another moment of like, what am I doing? Like just kind of reassessing my life and thinking, am I crazy for trying to pursue something that's like literally running me into the ground? Like I've had that conversation with myself so many times, but every time I do, it's like another door is somehow opened. Like someone came from somewhere to help sponsor me, or like another job opportunity would come up. Like there was always kind of a little miracle that would happen. And I would always take that as a sign to be like, okay, yep, I think the universe is telling me I need to keep going. Like, I got to trust this process as hard as it is. I think it's one that, if you just keep going and keep your head down and stay focused, then it'll just lead to a very fulfilling life. And so far it has, for sure.
I like that. I think that is, that's part of what this experience is maybe it's not clear. The path is not clear, but you know that I want to get to that point. I don't know how I'm going to get there, but I want to it's in the distance. It's over there. And I think that this is the way. But then you get, literally, right? You're pushed around by the wind, and you're pushed this way and you're that way and this way. But still, it's like, no matter what's going on, I am moving in that direction. And like you said, these miracles, these signs are like, yes, I am moving in that direction.
It is so crazy how many times, just like yourself, like I will use the analogy of paddling and the tough conditions that sometimes we have to face when we're out there. Even yesterday, actually, I think I was telling you about it yesterday. I had to go for a paddle that was like 8 times 1 minute at 90% max effort. And literally the wind was blowing. I think it was blowing in the 30s, and it was gusting to like 50 kilometers an hour. And I just was like, man, this sucks. But I was like, I've still got to go out there. I still got to get the training done and make it happen, because I'm not going to get better if I don't. And it kind of was just like, okay, yeah, suck it up, face it. But when you face those challenges and you're able to get through them, it definitely makes you
Yeah.
a better, stronger, and happier human being all at the same
Yeah.
time.
Can we dive a little more into that? Because I think that's something people see, with social media, unless you're showing the challenges that we're faced, people only see like, oh, this is the wonderful, beautiful this. Like, what goes through your mind? What helps you? Like you said, specifically that, like 1 minute, I've got 50-kilometer wins. Like, what's your routine? Do you have a routine? Do you have a ritual that when it's challenging, when it's tough physically and mentally, what do you do? Do you care to, maybe it's one of these like, oh, that's top secret. I don't share that kind of stuff.
No, you know what? I'm actually very happy to share what I do because over the past year, actually, I've been working with a mental performance sports coach. Her name's Kirsty McMillan.
Yeah.
And she's taught me a lot of cool tips and tricks like visualization,
Mhm.
and little funny habits that you can do when you're out there paddling. So, for example, like yesterday when it got hard, I noticed that when I'm doing like sprint intervals or like max effort workouts that are just like you want to crawl in a hole and die because it's so hard, um, I'll actually smile. Like I'll put a smile on my face, and psychologically too, that helps me and my body recognize, okay, nope, like we're not going into survival mode here. This isn't like we're gonna die. This is actually good work for you. This is gonna make you better. This is gonna make you faster. So literally
Yeah.
just smiling through the pain is kind of a cool
Mhm.
tip slash trick I've been using a lot for the past year. Um, but visualization is actually huge, even more so. Like that tool in my toolbox has just been so incredibly important because
Mhm.
I am literally at this point now where if I can't see it, if I can't imagine it in my head, if I can't create a picture, then that
Mhm.
scenario or that situation will not happen for me.
Mhm.
And it's cool. I actually realized that a couple years ago before I even knew what visualization was. I got really hurt on a skateboard.
Mhm.
I was at a pump track with some friends and we were just carving around the track on our skateboards, and it was actually like really fun. But there was this one section that I knew the turn was really sharp. And before I went down the ramp to hit the turn, I was trying to see it. Like I'll never forget this moment with my friends. Like I was standing on the ledge and I was so nervous, and I was waiting, and they're like, "Come on, just go, just go." And I was like, because I remember thinking like, just give me a second here. Hold on. Like I need to see it. I need to see myself hitting this turn so I can do it. And I never did. Like I couldn't picture it in my head, but I just
Mhm.
went anyway. And yeah, I flew up the ramp and landed straight down on my left foot, so it led to a very serious knee injury. Another pivotal moment making me realize, oh my god, okay, I can't mess around if I want to be a professional athlete. Like, no more skateboarding. um, but yeah, visualization, it helps me so much with my athletic performance. And I
Mhm.
used it a lot last year at the ICF World
Yeah.
Championships in Sarasota. And honestly,
Mhm.
without it, I wouldn't have had like the best performance of my life, especially in the tech racing, um,
Mhm.
ever. So
Isn't it amazing? The power, it's a testament to the power of the mind that you, Manny, like, and this is something that everybody can do. You don't have to be a world class athlete to use visualization. There's amazing research. There's two studies that I like to talk about in talks. One of them is people doing bicep curls or doing strength training. One group actually physically doing it, and another one visualizing themselves doing it. And when they measured before and after, both groups improved their muscular strength. One actually doing it, and one just like visualizing themselves doing it. It's like, that's incredible.
oh,
That's
that's
incredible.
cool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so it's one of these like, the more you can truly see yourself, the brain does not distinguish between an actual physical experience and the imagined one. It's the same, it's an experience that it takes in. So that's what's so cool. And I think the more that people learn about it, like, wow, this is such powerful that you can do. And it doesn't say, for example, when these visualizations that you've learned for these races, how much time does it take you to do a visual, like what's your visual, do you have an actual practice where you set aside time going to visualize? How do you do it?
Absolutely. I used to, when I was kind of learning how to do it in the first place with Kirsty, I would do it after I was done a paddle because I found it was kind of like actually a nice way to cool down and to just sit on the dock, and really think about even how I just paddled, what just happened, and then try to visualize um, the future race that I had coming up. Like that was always what I would try to picture, is like whatever my next race was, if I knew what the
Yeah.
course looked like on a map, or just if it was like a downwind, I would picture the river. Like I would always try to picture the environment I was in. But
Mm.
now I actually switch it around, and I like doing it as part of my warm-up routine. So here in Welland, like the Welland Canal is about 5 minutes from my house. So I'll literally drive there, and I will then sit in my car for like at least 5 minutes. Cause I really think that's all you need. Like, I think sometimes too, people get intimidated when they think about, oh, okay, another practice I have to implement into my,
Mm-hmm.
say, routine. But yeah, if you only give yourself 5 minutes, like it doesn't take that long to just sit for a minute, picture your environment, picture your performance and
Mm-hmm.
how you want to perform, then
Yeah.
it kind of goes by faster than what you may realize. So I visualize, and then I get out of my car, I unload the board, I do my quick warm up, and then I hit the water.
Mm. I love that. Yeah, I agree with you because sometimes, I mean, there's so much information out there on nutrition, on, yoga, breathing, training, what types of training, all of this, and then some people get overwhelmed. I mean, it's easy to get overwhelmed, but to hear you say like 5 minutes, 5 minutes, you have 5 minutes in your schedule. Like 5 minutes, I can do that. And if people plan, oh, if I could do 5 minutes, they might find, oh, that was 10 minutes. That was still easy, but you don't need to do that much time.
Absolutely. Like Kirsty's taught me a lot in terms of the mental performance space, that training your
Mhm.
mind, and even like you said, based off of that study alone, is just as important as the physicality. Like it's just as
Yes.
important as the hour paddle I'm going to go do on the water. So
Mm-hmm.
like when I hear it like that, I just think to myself, well, okay, then what is 5 minutes to dedicate towards my mind? Like it's
Right.
nothing. And I'll do it, especially as an athlete. You always have that
Mm-hmm.
instinct or that inclination to want to be that 1% better. So when I learned about the
Right.
mental performance, I'm like, okay, that's another 1%. Like every day, if I
Mm-hmm.
do that every day, then I'll just keep being better. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Mm. So important. And so that whole, it's that balance. Maddie, how do you balance your routine? Because, like you said, you freelance, you have these different projects, you have your training, you have your different coaches, traveling, etc. How do you balance your life to pursue your passion and then also not only to maintain your performance, physical performance, mental performance, but overall health and well being?
Absolutely. I think, yeah, what's really cool, and I'm very, very lucky, and I feel very grateful to have the flexibility and the freedom that I do to balance my life the way that works for me. Um, and I think I oftentimes say that because I know people who are working like the 9 to 5 jobs, and it's hard to say, oh yeah, do this and do that when life doesn't always allow for everybody. So I think how I found or find balance as a professional stand-up paddleboarding athlete is really just establishing like a solid routine,
Mm-hmm.
no matter where I am in the world, which is kind of cool. And honestly, you've actually helped me a lot, like refine that routine and just like narrow down, okay, what's important, maybe what's not important. And so I'm usually back and forth between like Florida for off-season training and then Canada for um, kind of everything else. So when I'm not competing, typically in Canada, it's like I just have a nice slow morning. I like to give myself that time because if I just rush into my day, it's not going to be good.
It makes such a difference. It makes such a difference.
Absolutely. Yeah. So I'll like wake up, I'll have some water, I'll eat like a small breakfast, or we've been on the protein coffee train for the past couple days, which is awesome. Thank you, Dr. Stacey Sims. I'll either read a little bit or do like kind of some sort of a puzzle, and then I'll get ready to do my first workout of the day, which is usually a paddle. And then I'll come home, I'll make a post paddle breakfast, I'll jump online, and I'm usually online for a few hours. I'll have lunch in between that as well, and then usually in the afternoon I'll go to the gym for my strength session, and that depends too sometimes what the strength training phase is, but usually anywhere from like an hour to 2 hours. I'm in the gym, and then I come home, have some sort of recovery as well, and then I'll jump back online again for a bit, like maybe another hour or two. And then sometimes I'll also help like my parents out with cooking. I love cooking. I love food. Like, it's totally my passion, and learning so much through you as well about what's good to fuel your body with. And I find that's, for me, actually, too, a little bit of self-care in there as well. Like, I love cooking for my family. It's, like, my way of expressing, like, thank you so much for supporting me in this journey. So I'll usually cook some dinner, and then, yeah, after dinner, lately, my mom and I have been going for walks, which is pretty cool. So that's kind of nice, too, to take that time. And then I might also hop online again for another hour or two just to keep going, because yeah, these jobs, again, with the flexibility, it's nice that I can kind of come online and offline when I need to. So I'll usually put in a little bit more work in the evenings as well. And then I wind down around 9. That's when I tell myself, all right, we got to shut down.
And you have to do that. You know, it's one of those, especially with the technology, everything at our fingertips, these smartphones, that we could be, when you don't have a set 9 to 5 routine, that it's easy. You could get sucked in and you get pulled into whatever, and you have to have that tenacity to just say like, nope, that's it. I'm shutting it down.
Yeah.
That's important too.
Yeah. And sometimes it can be hard. Like, you know, I mean, I just described a typical day, but there's definitely days. I had a day, I think like a few days ago, or maybe even like a week ago, where I was online all day. Like, I was so driven, and it was my like rest day from working out. So I didn't have any strength or paddling to do, but I was like, oh my God, like I want to get work done. Like, I just had this like desire to be like, okay, I have free time now, so get the work done. And some days that's just how it goes, you know, but you're right. We're not always perfect, but if we just strive to keep everything in a balance as best as we can, then I think that's definitely the best for our overall well-being.
I agree 100%. And again, those analogies with paddling itself, like, balance is not extreme, because either way you're going to go over the rails, right side or the left side. The balance is everything in between, and that's the perfection, right? The perfect balance is, ooh, you're shaking one, ooh, okay, you know, and it's figuring it all out. And that's life, when we can embrace that. Like, no, it's not about being perfect. It's about being present. Like, no, this is what's going on. I need to do this right now. I could follow this routine, but this is really the most important thing. And I think that's also what we learn as we go along. The more you train, the more you compete, you find out what works for you. And then it's like, you continue to refine. And coming back to that, you said that 1%. Do you have, as we start to wrap up, any closing remarks for that? People that are looking for that 1%, whether it's in paddling, whether it's in their career, you know, that one, is there something that you really think of all that you've done thus far, like, you know, this is one way to really get you to that 1%?
Oh, another great question, Audrey. Oh, that's a hard question though to answer. You know what? I think to get to that 1%, like, I would honestly say to most people, whether it be, yeah, you're an athlete and you want to have a better performance, or you have an awesome career and you just want to strive to be better, is kind of have a leave no stone unturned approach. So if you see something that sparks your curiosity, so I mean, in the athletic world, it can be visualization and you've never tried it before, or breath work, or a new training program, or in your career. If you're like, hey, maybe I never talked to this person and maybe I could network with this person, or you just saw something that sparked your curiosity, explore it. Take the time to actually think, hey, okay, what would happen if I pursued X or did Y? Because I think I'm asking myself those kinds of questions all the time as a paddling athlete. And I think too, like from working with you, like sometimes I'll be like, hey, Audrey, what about this food? Or what about if I have this instead of this? Or even with training last week, I was speaking to my coach specifically about the Euro Tour that's coming up, and we were talking about periodization before it. And I was just asking so many questions, and then my coach answered all of them, and I'm like, oh, thank God I asked. It's just like, always have that leave no stone unturned approach, because then you'll never look back at your life and regret anything that you didn't do or you didn't try. Even if you fail, and I say that in air quotes because, I don't even look at things as failure. I just look at it as like, oh, okay, you tried, and it is what it is. But you'll never have regrets if you leave no stone unturned. I think that's what I'm trying to say.
Fantastic. I love that. I really love it. Like you said, of being curious, the what if, asking the questions. Because all we know is what we know. And in order to, that 1% is just going outside, and they say, getting out of the comfort zone. You don't have to be all the way out there, but this little, like, asking the question, what would this be like? That's fantastic, because that is also, it's not overwhelming. People can do this. What is this like? Let me try this. Let me try this recipe. Let me try this type of a training. Let me try this board. Let me try this paddle.
Absolutely. Because you know what? Like you said earlier, sometimes it's so hard in today's society that we have social media and all of these things at our fingertips. And it's great to have all these resources. But yeah, at the same time, it can completely overwhelm us to be like, oh, wait, I need to be doing this and I need to be doing that. So I do believe things to like come in due time as well. And so as much as we can, I say that leave no stone unturned approach as well, with also keeping everything like in a balance. And if you try something that doesn't work for you, but some sort of influencer was like, this was great, like, don't feel bad about it either, We all find things that work for our each individual needs. And so don't feel bad if something doesn't work for you, but maybe it worked for somebody else, or vice versa too.
Thank you for that, Maddi.
Yeah.
And as our last one, as we come to a close, is there anything that you care to share that you feel afterwards like, I really wish I would have said this?
Oh, honestly, I just feel like every time I come on a podcast, I always want to thank the people who are behind me, the people who support me, and allow me to do what I love, allow me to pursue what I love, because I wouldn't be able to do what I love as an athlete without my friends, without my family, without my partner, without my sponsors. So I just want to shout out all of them. I'm not going to list everyone because you guys know who you are, but and thank you, Audrey, seriously, because you're one of those people, and having this podcast, I think it's really exciting and it's so cool for you. And I just appreciate being able to come on and share my story. So thank you.
Thank you for sharing your story, Maddi, and thank you for being you, because your story and your life of you pursuing your goals and your passions, it shines a light where you're like, wow, I want to do what I want to do too. That maybe that's that 1%. And you're like, what would it take for me in order to do that? Let me try. Let me uncover this one stone. And that's the starting point, to give people permission to show them they can do it too.
Absolutely. That's always what I hope. I hope to leave behind inspiration. It's cool to be pursuing what I love, and hopefully one day I want to be a world champion. So not only is it cool to go after that title, but it's just like the journey to get there is what matters more to me and
Awesome.
the people who are a part of that matter. And if I can just inspire at least one person in this journey to maybe pick up a paddle or just become athletic or move in some sort of way, be a healthier person, then I feel like I've done my job.
Yes. Ah, that's beautiful. And then how about for people that want to learn more about you and follow your journey? What are your handles? What's your information?
Absolutely. On Instagram, my username is at Maddi Maddi 3 LeBlanc. I also do have a YouTube channel. My brother and I, we've been starting a vlog series so that visually people can see what I'm up to and what I'm doing and how my training looks. So I am on YouTube. Same thing, Maddi LeBlanc, Maddi. I have a website. Same thing, my name.com. And yeah, I think that's most of the platforms there.
So, Maddie, thank you so much. And thank you all for lending your ear and being inspired to take that extra step.